Imagine a world where the very landscape you navigated was a closely guarded secret, where knowledge of roads, rivers, and cities meant power, conquest, and survival. In ancient civilizations, maps were not mere guides. They were priceless treasures, meticulously crafted over lifetimes, often at immense personal risk. But what happens when such invaluable intellectual property can be stolen with a mere glance, a swift tracing of a pen? Without copyright laws or digital protection, ancient mapmakers faced a formidable challenge: how to safeguard their life's work. The answer, often whispered through the annals of history, involved an ingenious, audacious act of deception: the creation of phantom settlements, invisible towns, deliberately placed onto their precious parchments. From the intricate clay tablets of Mesopotamia depicting land ownership to the grand navigational charts of Phoenician sailors, maps were humanity's first blueprints of the known world. They were tools of immense power, dictating trade routes, marking fertile lands, and guiding military campaigns across vast, unknown territories. A well-crafted map could decide the fate of nations, ensuring prosperity or leading to utter ruin. The knowledge contained within their lines and symbols was considered sacred, a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless drive to understand and control our surroundings. This profound importance naturally attracted both reverence and greed, making them ripe targets for theft. In an era without satellites or GPS, every detail on a map represented a monumental effort. Months, even years, of perilous exploration, painstaking observation, and meticulous calculation. These are not just drawings. They were intelligence reports, strategic documents, and economic forecasts rolled into one. Empires rose and fell on the accuracy of their cartography. Therefore, the knowledge held within these maps was fiercely protected. Trade routes were state secrets, military encampments strategically omitted, and the precise location of resources guarded with extreme vigilance. The intellectual property of a mapmaker was often indistinguishable from national security, making its unauthorized copying an act of espionage. The problem was pervasive. There were no copyright laws. If you had access to a map, you could simply replicate it. Scribes, artists, even rival kingdoms would meticulously copy existing works, often without attribution, claiming them as their own. This rampant plagiarism undermined the original creators' efforts, diminishing their reputation and monetary reward. Imagine years spent trekking through deserts, navigating treacherous seas, only for a rival cartographer to duplicate your masterpiece, taking all the credit and profit simply because they had access to your work for a brief period. This was the frustrating reality for those who dared to map the unknown, prompting them to seek innovative solutions. For a cartographer, their map was their legacy, their livelihood, and often their life's blood. It represented countless hours of precision, immense personal danger, and unparalleled skill. To have it stolen, copied, and then presented as someone else's invention was a profound violation. This desperation fueled a need for a defense mechanism, a secret weapon against the rampant intellectual piracy of their time. They needed a way to identify their original work, even when it had been meticulously replicated. The solution had to be subtle, ingenious, and ultimately undeniable. It had to be a signature that only they could truly understand. And so, an ingenious, almost mischievous strategy was born: the deliberate inclusion of fictional details. These weren't grand, mythical beasts, but rather subtle, mundane fabrications. A tiny, unnamed village, a non-existent river tributary, or most famously, a phantom settlement. Imagine a small town, meticulously placed on a map, complete with roads leading to and from it, but utterly absent from the real world. This paper town, or trap street, served as an invisible watermark. If a rival map surfaced with this identical, non-existent detail, it was irrefutable proof of plagiarism. The lie was the truth, exposing the thief. One of history's most influential cartographers, Claudius Ptolemy, whose 2nd century Geographia became the standard for centuries, understood the immense value of his work. While direct evidence of his own trapped towns is debated, the very scale and influence of his maps made them prime targets for widespread copying. The systematic approach to cartography he pioneered made it easier to replicate his work, simultaneously increasing its value and vulnerability. It's highly probable that, facing such rampant intellectual theft, scholars and mapmakers operating within his influential sphere would have employed similar, subtle forms of protection to safeguard their original contributions to the Geographia. The Roman Empire, a civilization built on organization and conquest, relied heavily on accurate maps for administration, logistics, and military strategy. Their famed road network, the arteries of the empire, would have been painstakingly documented. Imagine the immense strategic disadvantage if a complete and accurate Roman military map fell into enemy hands, or if a crucial administrative chart was copied by a rival provincial governor to usurp authority. It is highly plausible that Roman cartographers, recognizing the critical importance of their work, would have embedded subtle, almost unnoticeable errors, a minor road that ended abruptly, a small settlement in the wrong place, to distinguish their originals from countless imitations. Even in the monastic scriptoriums of the Middle Ages, where knowledge was preserved and reproduced, the temptation to copy was strong. Monks painstakingly transcribed texts and maps, often contributing to the vast Mappa Mundi tradition, large symbolic world maps. While less focused on precise navigation, these maps were still valuable intellectual and theological artifacts. A master scribe or cartographer, whose life's devotion went into their illuminated manuscripts and intricate maps, might have inserted a unique, fabricated hill or a tiny, misnamed river into their work. This would serve as a quiet, almost spiritual mark of ownership, a subtle trap for any less scrupulous brother who sought to claim their unique artistic and scholarly contribution as their own. Today, we rely on copyright notices, patents, and digital watermarks to protect intellectual property. But in ancient times, the concept of individual authorship was often fluid, and legal protections were virtually non-existent. Without a formal system for attributing or safeguarding original work, cartographers had to invent their own. Their chosen method was a brilliant form of passive-aggressive defiance, embedding a harmless yet definitive falsehood. It wasn't about catching a thief in the act of physically stealing the map. It was about exposing the thief when their copied work eventually surfaced, revealing the telltale mistake that was, in fact, an ingenious claim of authorship. For modern historians and cartography enthusiasts, identifying these phantom settlements is a delicate archaeological puzzle. It involves cross-referencing ancient maps with historical records, geographical surveys, and even modern satellite imagery. Distinguishing between a genuine error, a mythical place, or a deliberate fabrication requires immense scholarship and a keen eye. Sometimes the evidence is anecdotal. Other times, the sheer consistency of an error across multiple copies points to an original, deliberate deception. These ghost towns become tiny historical Easter eggs, revealing not only the geography of the past, but also the cunning minds behind its documentation. This game of cartographic cat and mouse wasn't limited to antiquity. The spirit of these trapped streets continued into the age of printing, with map publishers desperate to protect their expensive engravings, employing similar tricks. Even in the 20th century, modern map makers like the General Drafting Company famously invented Agloe, New York on a 1930s map to catch copiers. While the technology changed, the fundamental human desire to create, protect, and profit from intellectual property remained. This enduring battle highlights a universal truth. Creativity, wherever it exists, will always find ingenious ways to defend itself against imitation. The story of phantom settlements is a testament to the ingenuity and sheer willpower of ancient mapmakers. Faced with a world devoid of legal protection for their monumental work, they devised a silent, subtle signature, a lie that revealed the truth. These ghost towns and imaginary roads are more than just historical curiosities. They are poignant reminders of the enduring human struggle to create, to innovate, and to protect the fruits of one's intellect. They show us how, even in the earliest chapters of history, the guardians of knowledge had to be not just brilliant explorers and meticulous artists, but also cunning strategists, embedding their genius into the very fabric of the maps they painstakingly created. These phantom settlements are more than just forgotten details on old maps. They are a profound window into the resourcefulness of ancient civilizations. They remind us that the struggle to protect intellectual property is as old as civilization itself, predating printing presses, copyright laws, and the digital age by millennia. The clever deception of a non-existent village or a misdrawn river stands as a silent monument to the unyielding spirit of human creativity, an invisible watermark of genius etched across the very maps that shaped our understanding of the world. They reveal the enduring legacy of those who not only charted the known world, but also secretly protected their wisdom.